Meet Sarah. Sarah has a killer product, customers who love her, and a business she's poured her entire life into. And in 3 months, she's shutting down for good. She's about to become another statistic. We've all heard it. Roughly half of all businesses fail within the first 5 years. What Sarah doesn't know is that a single hidden mistake is driving her company into the ground. And it's a trap I see countless entrepreneurs fall into every single day. Here's what makes it so deadly. It has nothing to do with her product. It has nothing to do with how hard she works. In fact, her passion and her competence are part of the problem. Sarah is making one of the most common and devastating mistakes an entrepreneur can make. She's working in her business, not on the business. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what that means, why it's killing businesses like hers, and the 4-pillar system to escape before burnout or collapse. If you're working 60-hour weeks but your business isn't growing, if you can't take a day off without everything grinding to a halt, or if you feel like you've built yourself the worst job in the world, this is for you. I'm going to show you the fundamental shift that separates businesses that barely survive from those that actually thrive. Because Sarah hasn't built a company, she's built herself a job. And as the business author Michael Gerber says in The E-Myth Revisited, it's often the worst job in the world because you're working for a lunatic, yourself. We're going to walk through exactly what the trap looks like, why it's so deadly, and the 4-pillar system Sarah used to escape before total collapse. This isn't theory. This is the architecture that determines whether your business serves you or buries you. Point number 1, what it actually means to be trapped working in your business and why it's a death sentence. Michael Gerber, the author of The E-Myth Revisited, identified what he calls the fatal assumption. An individual who understands the technical work of a business can successfully run a business that does that technical work. That's Sarah. She makes incredible pies, best in the city, but she doesn't have a clue how to build a pie business. And that gap is what's killing her. Here's what her reality looks like. Her days are a frantic blur, just trying to keep the wheels on. She's packing orders, answering every customer email, tweaking the website, paying invoices, personally putting out every single fire that pops up. She's the head chief, the lead janitor, and the entire support team rolled into one. She's what Gerber calls the technician, the doer who lives by the motto, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. You feel busy all the time, but you're not actually productive. You're pulling 60-hour weeks, but the business just isn't growing. Revenue might be flat, profit margins are razor thin. You're always one bad month away from disaster. And here's the kicker, you have become the bottleneck. If you get sick, if you need a day off, if you dare to take a vacation, the whole operation grinds to a halt. Orders don't go out, emails don't get answered, the business stops breathing. That's not freedom, that's not entrepreneurship. It's a prison you built with your own 2 hands. And it's a direct path to 3 inevitable outcomes: burnout, cash flow problems, and ultimately failure. The trap isn't that you're bad at your job. The trap is that you're too good at your job. You're so competent at the technical work that you never built the system that allows the business to run without you. You've confused being indispensable with being successful. If any of this sounds familiar, you need to understand this. The work you're doing right now, the emails, the orders, the fires, is not the work that grows your business. That work keeps you alive. It doesn't move you forward. The work that moves you forward happens when you step back and start building the systems that handle those tasks for you. And that's where we're going next. So how do you break out? Point number 2, the fundamental mind shift from technician to entrepreneur. Working on the business means you stop drowning in the day-to-day tasks and start building the systems that handle those tasks for you. It's about growth, it's about strategy, and it's about creating a company that can thrive and scale even when you're not there. Here's the deal. The business itself has to become the product. You're not designing pies anymore. You're designing a pie business. You're not packing boxes. You're designing the system that ensures boxes get packed correctly every time without you. This doesn't happen overnight. It requires you to elevate your role and focus on 4 critical pillars: strategy, finance, people process, and operations. Master these and you can pull yourself out of that daily grind and build a business that serves you, not the other way around. This is about more than delegation. It's a fundamental shift in identity. You're no longer the doer, you're the architect. You're the designer of a system that runs without you. And I promise you, this shift is uncomfortable. It feels wrong at first. You'll be tempted to jump back into execution because that's where you feel competent. That's where you get the dopamine hit of checking things off a list. But if you stay there, you stay stuck. If you want to scale, you have to get comfortable operating at a higher altitude, even when it feels like you're not doing anything. When you make the shift, everything changes. You stop trading hours for dollars. You start building equity. You create a business that has value independent of your labor. And most importantly, you get your life back. But you can't do this without a roadmap. That's why we're breaking down each pillar, starting with the one that every failed business skips: Pillar number 1, strategy. If working in the business is pedaling a bike as hard as you can with your head down, working on the business is stopping and actually looking at a map. Strategic work is about stepping away from the operations chaos and asking the big questions. What are we actually doing? Why are we going there? And what's the most direct path to get there? For a business owner, this means you must block out the time, even just a few hours a week, to step away from the operational chaos. This is your command and control time for the big picture thinking. You need to review your business plan regularly, not write one, shove it in a drawer, and never look at it again. You should be analyzing your financials, not just paying bills, but understanding what they mean. This means understanding your key performance indicators, KPIs, running a SWOT analysis, setting clear, measurable goals for the next quarter and the next year. This is not fluffy visioning. This is disciplined decision making. Most founders skip this because it feels like a luxury. I don't have time to think. I have orders to ship. But that's exactly backwards. You don't have time not to think, because without a clear direction, all that hustle is just motion. It's not progress. You are the visionary. Nobody else has more skin in the game. Nobody else thinks about where this business needs to be in 3 years. Neglecting strategy isn't a small oversight. It's a primary reason businesses sink. Scheduling protected time for this work is the first and most critical step to taking back control. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. And worse, you'll burn out trying. Here's what this looks like in practice. Block out 2 hours every week. Put it on your calendar like it's a client meeting. Use that time to review your numbers, assess what's working, kill what's not, and map the next 90 days. That's it. 2 hours a week of strategic work will do more for your business than 40 hours of execution without direction. And strategy feeds into the next pillar. Because once you know where you're going, you need to know if you can afford to get there. Pillar number 2, finance. If your strategy is your roadmap, finance is your fuel gauge. You can have the best map in the world, but if you run out of gas, you're dead in the water. One of the top reasons businesses fail is that they simply run out of cash. Working on your finances means going beyond paying bills and tracking expenses. It's about deeply understanding the economic engine of your business. This is where countless entrepreneurs fail. They confuse revenue with profit. They confuse cash flow with survival. They look at a big sales month and think they're crushing it. And then 3 months later, they can't make payroll. What are your true profit margins on each product? What does it cost you to acquire a new customer? And what is their lifetime value? What are your fixed costs versus variable costs? How much runway do you have if sales slows down for 60 days? If you can't answer those questions without digging through a pile of receipts, you don't know your business. A business owner who works on their finances reviews their profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and cash flow statements regularly. They aren't just looking at what happened last month. They're building forecasts and budgeting to guide future decisions. This is what separates the businesses that survive from the ones that scale. Because when you understand your numbers, you can make strategic bets. You know which products to kill, which market channels to double down on, and when you can afford to hire. You don't need to become an accountant, but you do need to use financial intelligence to make strategic choices that ensure the business is running profitably and sustainably. At the end of the day, cash is your oxygen. If you don't monitor it, you suffocate. It doesn't matter how good your product is or how hard you work. If the math doesn't work, the business doesn't work. Here's your action step. Set up a monthly financial review. Sit down with your P&L, your balance sheet, and your cash flow statement. Look at trends. Ask yourself, where is my money coming from? Where is it going out? Where am I bleeding cash? Where am I making bank? If you don't have clean financials, hire a bookkeeper. It's the best money you'll ever spend because you can't manage what you can't measure. And once you know your numbers, you need people who can execute without you. That's the next pillar. Now, if you're getting value out of this, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And what I want to know, what is the one task you're white knuckling right now that you know you should delegate? Drop it in the comment below. Your struggle is every entrepreneur's struggle, and your story might just help someone else. Pillar number 3, people process. The fear of letting go is one of the biggest hurdles for every founder. But here's the truth. Delegation without clear process is just abdication. You're worried that no one will care as much as you do, or they'll mess something up and cost you a client. To scale, you must build a team, but you must also give that team a playbook to win. This is the pillar of the people process. This means documenting every recurring task. If you do a task more than twice, create a standard operating procedure, an SOP. This isn't a 100-page corporate binder. It can be a simple checklist, a Google Doc, or a quick screen recorded video explaining the how and why. First, it empowers your people. Good processes allow good employees, not necessarily rock stars, to perform at a high level because they have a clear guide. This is the McDonald's model. They're not hiring Michelin star chefs. They're selling a system that produces a predictable result. You can do the same. Second, it ensures consistency. Tasks are done the right way every time, no matter who is doing them. That's what builds trust with your customers. That's what protects your brand. Third, it allows you to truly delegate. You define the outcomes, provide the process, and then you can trust them to execute. You're not micromanaging. You're not hovering. You're giving them the tools to succeed. Your job shifts from doer to designer of the system that your people run. That's how you build your freedom machine. Because once the process exists, you can hand it off. And once you hand it off, you can focus on higher level work like strategy and growth. I see this all the time. A founder comes to me and says, I can't find good people. But when I dig in, the real issue is they've never built a system that allows good people to succeed. They expect someone to read their mind, work at their pace, and care as much as they do, all without any training, documentation, or clarity. That's not a people problem. That's a system design problem. Start small. Pick one recurring task this week. Write down the steps. Record a quick video showing how you do it. Hand it to someone else and see what happens. Refine it, then move to the next task. Over time, you'll build a library of SOPs that becomes the operating manual for your business. And that's when you stop being the bottleneck and start being the architect. But processes alone aren't enough. You also need the infrastructure to coordinate them. That's where operations comes in. And finally, pillar number 4, operations. If your strategy is the map and processes are the instruction manual, operations are the vehicle itself, the system that guarantees a smooth ride. Operations is about the tools and the rhythms that pull your strategy, finance, and people process together. This means putting project management tools like Asana, Trello, or ClickUp in place to get a clear view of who's doing what and when. It means setting up clear communications channels like a daily huddle or a Slack or a structured weekly team meeting to kill confusion and keep everyone aligned. Without operations, you've got a team running in different directions, chasing fires and guessing what's important. With operations, you've got a coordinated machine moving toward the same goal. Working on operations means you're constantly evaluating and refining these systems. Where are the bottlenecks? Where are things getting stuck? You should be looking at data, not just going with your gut. Ask yourself, are we hitting our deadlines? Are things falling through the cracks? Where are we wasting time? Where are we duplicating effort? The goal is to create a framework that drives efficiency, boosts profit, and ultimately gives you your time back. A well-run operation is what finally allows the owner to take that vacation, confident that the business will run like clockwork in their absence. Operations is the connective tissue. It pulls your strategy, finance, and people process together into a living, breathing system. Without it, you've got great ideas and no execution. With it, you've got a machine. I've seen businesses with great strategy, solid finance, and documented processes still fail because they had no operational rhythm. No one knew what anyone else was doing. Priorities shifted every day. Chaos ruled. Don't let that be you. Pick a tool, any tool, Asana, Trello, ClickUps, Monday, even my next level system. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you use it. Start tracking your projects, assign tasks, set deadlines, review progress every week, and institute a weekly team meeting. 30 minutes. Review what's got done, what's in progress, and what's coming next. That's it. That one rhythm will eliminate more confusion than 100 Slack messages. When you lock in operations, everything else starts to click. Your strategy has legs, your finances have visibility, your people have direction, and you finally have room to breathe. Let's get back to Sarah. Facing collapse, she finally got some tough advice and had her aha moment. She realized she was the bottleneck. So she made a change. She hired a part-time assistant to handle packaging and customer service emails. She documented her pie making process so the assistant could help her with prep. She started using a simple Trello board to track wholesale orders. It was hard to let go. Every instinct told her that no one could do it as well as she could. But slowly, she fought for a few hours back each week. And here's what changed everything. She used that time not to bake more pies, but to think. She analyzed her business sales data and had a breakthrough. Her mini pies were her most profitable item by a mile. She used that single insight to build a marketing campaign targeting local offices for corporate catering. Fast forward 6 months, Sarah isn't in the kitchen frantically packaging boxes anymore. She's at a cafe reviewing her business dashboard on a laptop. Her team is running the shop. Orders are going out, and for the first time, the business is growing without her direct physical labor. She escaped the trap. Nearly half of all businesses fail. Not from a bad idea or lack of effort, but because the owner gets stuck working in the business instead of on it. They built themselves a high-stress, low-paying job, and then they burn out or run out of cash. The solution is to evaluate your role, to become the strategist, the leader, and the architect of your business. Focus on your strategy, master your finances, build your people processes, streamline your operations. This is how you build a business that not only survives, but gives you your life back. This is how you win. Now that you understand the 4 pillars that separate businesses that survive from those that scale, you need to know how to actually implement them without blowing up your current operation. In an upcoming video, I'll show you the exact step-by-step process to transition from operator to architect without sacrificing revenue or burning out your team in the process.